Welcome to Mindscapes Memoirs. Real stories, real people, real life. Dive into conversations that heal, inspire, and help us grow. Hi there, everyone. This week I am meeting with Laura, and I am so excited to have this conversation because I think it's one that not a lot of people are talking about. I feel like we talk about mental health and we talk about physical health in its own compartment, but really they are connected. And the more that we treat them like they are, the more beneficial it probably is. But I would love to understand and share your story around mental and physical health challenges. Can you help us understand what that looked like for you in your life?
Of course. So, from a young age, I was struggling to fit in. I was always the odd one out. But at the same time, I didn't even feel the need to play with other kids on playgrounds, for example. I felt very much like I'm enough on my own. I'm
Yeah.
self-sufficient in a way. I had my own ways of doing things. And if other people didn't want to do them the same way, I was struggling with that. I was struggling with the change, the challenges that came with communication. And this led to me struggling a lot at school with bullying. A lot of kids didn't understand me. Of course, I was the weird one. And simultaneously as well, I was having constantly issues with my health. I would get sick a lot. I would pick up everything that's around. I would be needing antibiotics every month or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like this perfect mixture of struggling, both physically and mentally, from a very, very young age. I remember I was, in a way, thinking of not wanting to be here anymore
Yeah.
since I was 8 years old. So this was very taxing, but at the same time, it was normal for me. This is how
Yes.
it was.
Yeah.
This is how life was. My parents were also going through their own divorce, and this was a huge thing that impacted me.
Yes.
And it was a perfect storm, which in a way for me was I can see now that as a kid I thought that every kid lived that way, that this was the absolute norm.
Yeah.
And then when I started going to therapy as a grown up and I was telling this story with a smile on my face, which I still do to this day, and the therapist would be like, but this is so sad. How can you be smiling? And I'm like, I don't know. This is normal. Isn't it for everyone? Isn't it normal? And this is
You just had
when I
no
started to
idea.
realize, yeah, I just assumed that this is how everyone lives. I guess when you're a kid and you're in your own little bubble of the world and you just think like your universe is so small that you just think that everyone's family is like your family. Everyone's wife is like your wife.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard to understand that certain things were not okay and that certain things shouldn't have happened. That you should have said something, you should have done something. But yeah, and then there is a lot of regret and anger that you need to work through, a lot of sadness, a lot of grief for this child that was never allowed to have normal childhood, which is a lot of the things that I went through on my journey the past 10 years. I've been kind of on this journey going to different kinds of therapies, trying different solutions,
Yeah.
and I've learned a lot from personal experience.
You spoke about a lot of things. You said in school, I felt like I was the weird kid. I go home, my family is in stitches. There's a divorce happening. There's just a lot going on, and I think that this is normal for everyone, and it's not. And the way that I see the world and I go through the world is different than the other people around me, and I can't communicate properly, and it just seems like I keep hitting dead ends. Like it's just there's a lot, right? But this must be normal, right? When we try to normalize it, but it's not normal. How did you find out what was that first time that you understood this is not normal and I need to seek help?
Growing up, I learned that I needed to mask a lot of these weird things about me in a way to hide them from the world.
Masking, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
What is masking for people who might not know too much about that?
Masking is basically learning social cues and learning how to act as everyone else. Basically, it's as if you're an actor and you're just, when you are different, a lot of people that are different, I've learned they adopt this strategy kind of surviving by masking and playing a role of someone that has nothing to do with who they are really deep down.
Wow. And is this part of, ADHD? Is this part of autism? Tell me a little bit about, like, where does masking come from?
I learned last year, actually, after many years in therapy and all sorts of other doctors that I met, I learned that I'm autistic and ADHD.
Okay.
This is very hard to diagnose. It's very different how it presents in women in general, in girls, because of this, because we know how to imitate others better than boys do. And we know better how to adapt to the environment. And clearly, I was so good at it that no one, not even my therapist, understood that I'm autistic or
That's frustrating, right? That's absolutely so
it's
frustrating that even the doctors that you believe are going to be able to help you and figure this stuff out, they even fail you.
yeah, but
What
at the
was
same
that
time,
like?
it was extremely disappointing. But at the same time, I realized they can only work with what I give them.
It's true.
So if I
That's totally
don't
true.
show them the real me, if I don't articulate very, very well how much I'm struggling in reality and what's going on for me in daily life, this is what they're working with. They just think, well, you have anxiety and it's normal. A lot of people have anxiety.
So is that how you got yourself into the system, was you were having anxiety, they started looking for what's the cause?
Yeah, at one point I started struggling with anxiety and panic attacks that were horrible daily. They were affecting my daily life.
What was a
And this is
panic attack
when,
like for you?
at first, I think for everyone, when they first experience a panic attack, they think they're dying. They think there's something so majorly wrong with them that they need to go to the ER, which I did. I think most people have when they had their first panic attack. Um, and with time, I learned more because I didn't know what panic attacks were. I didn't even know what anxiety was. This is how little I knew about mental health because in the environment that I grew up into, and in general in the world before, it wasn't that mainstream for people to talk about these things.
That's right.
And I just thought that there's something physically wrong with me because the panic attacks, they're very physical. You have a lot of these physical symptoms, like you start shaking, you start hyperventilating, you start feeling mm, shortness of breath, your heart rate goes up. And there are a lot of these physical symptoms. You might even get pains here or
Yeah,
there,
I was gonna
whatever.
say, like, neck
Yeah,
pain, shoulder pains just
yeah.
seizing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's just such a physical experience that when it first starts happening to you, you think, oh my God, there's something really wrong with me and I'm dying and
Mhm.
I need to go to the emergency room.
Yes, yes.
So when this started happening, especially on the daily, because of course I couldn't go to the emergency room every day, I learned eventually that these were
Yeah.
panic attacks and that there is nothing they can do about them or
Yes.
they can give me a pill, but that's it, basically. And that and this kind of led me down to this road of okay, how do I deal with this? And again, this is a time again when I felt a lot like I have no future, I have no reason to live. My life is over in a way. Because when you first start experiencing anxiety and panic attacks to such extreme degree that they interfere with your daily life, you think that you'll never get out of this. I don't know. Have you experienced this
Yeah.
yourself?
I went through anxiety as a kid. I was bullied terribly in school. I know you were bullied as well. But it was so bad that just even thinking about going to school, I would have chest pains. I was I was a little kid and I had chest
Yeah.
pains and nausea and I wanted nothing more than to not go. And so I felt that real connection between my mind and my body, because it was like that day in and day out. And as an adult now, I'm constantly having back pains. I constantly feel this, like it's your body acts like it gets stiff and rigid because you are tense. You are tensing up, like you're in fight mode. And it's survival. Like there's nothing more to say about anxiety than if you are anxious, you are in a state of survival mode.
Absolutely. And you feel like it's never going to end. You feel
That's
like
right.
you're just going to be stuck in this state forever. The funny thing is that even after the event is over, there is a trauma left and the body remembers. And
Mhm.
even like small things, small triggers, they bring you back in it in a way, and they bring back anxiety, they bring back panic, and it's so overwhelming that you feel like there is no way out,
Mhm.
in my
Yeah.
experience.
And obviously there's really horrible, terrible thoughts that come with that level of hopelessness and that level of frustration at why can't I get better? Why can't I fix this? You start to think that you're a failure. Everybody else seems to be able to get this right. Why am I getting it so wrong? And so you start to feel defective and completely flawed. And who would want you? And it's just that game that you spin in your head. And so I love this because this is everybody's experience at some point in their life. Everyone can relate to this. And I don't necessarily know that having autism or ADHD or, borderline or whatever it would be would make that any of us different from having that experience. I think that everyone in life experiences this fear of getting it wrong.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. But at the same time, if you have autism and ADHD, you experience things much more acutely than other people. So, for example, I remember comparing myself to other kids that had their parents divorced, and I would think, well, why don't they struggle as much as I do?
Yeah.
Why am I such a failure compared to other people that have also experienced some traumatic experiences? And then it just felt like there is something so wrong about me as a human being compared to others until I learned about the autism and the ADHD and how my brain, my emotional regulation is just in a way different. And it's not how I will experience a situation is not the same how someone else will. Saying that, even if you're neurotypical, there are no two people that are the same. So
That's right.
everyone will experience things
That's right. It's a
differently.
spectrum, right? Like it's
Yeah,
wide spectrum.
absolutely.
You mentioned that you felt like a failure. I'm a failure compared to everybody around me. What was it that made you feel like a failure? Because I'm sure that you weren't failing at life. So, what was it that was making you feel like you were a failure?
It's interesting because I was very successful, and this has been, in a way, how my whole life has been. I am very successful at some things and I'm very bad at other things. And kind of the discrepancy between those things is so big that, like, for example, I was good with academic work. I was good at school. I wasn't struggling with school. At school, with the work, I was enjoying it even. But I was struggling with making friendships. And I was struggling terribly with it. And also, a lot of the times at school, I didn't pay attention. I didn't have the attention span to listen to the teachers.
Yeah.
So I would have to go home and learn on my own. And I kind of became much better at learning on my own than learning in a normal environment. But I
Yes.
felt like I need to hide this. I need to hide this from others because, oh my God, what would they think if they learn that I'm daydreaming
Yes.
during the whole day in
Yes.
school?
And it's funny that you say that because while you were explaining your time in school and just kind of being in your own world and
Yeah.
just, not picking up stuff really and so checking out and all of a sudden like it brought me right back to I think grade 3 And I was sitting in class and teachers talking, everybody is listening, and I'm just humming and I'm giving it a go. And I'm just like completely in the song. And the teacher's like, "Who's humming?" And I'm like looking around, I'm like, "Weird, who's humming?" "Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know."
yeah.
And then
It's
just
it's
it
not
kept
me.
going and, "Who's humming?" And everybody starts pointing at me, and I was like, "Oh my god, that was me." Like, so
Yeah.
daydreaming. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. You
funny.
just go in your own world. I feel like I had cues when I hear my name. That's
Yes.
when I'll be like almost like a stress response. Oh my God, I have to pay attention. Someone's
What have I
talking to
done?
me. Yeah.
That's
But apart
funny.
from that, I was somewhere else. See, some in my own world. That was so much more interesting than what
So
was
much
going
more.
on. Yeah.
Yes, that's funny. Um, so I do wanna talk about obviously took from being in this state of I'm helpless, I'm anxious, I'm hopeless, and I don't know what to do. I don't want to be here. I don't want to keep experiencing this every single day of my life. What did you do at that point that made the difference? Because you had tried like, you tried a lot of treatments, right? Can you help us understand what that looked like?
Yeah, so first I started normal talking therapy. It was really helpful in helping me build trust and helping me to understand that certain things weren't as were supposed to be in my childhood. But then we hit a wall, I would say, at one point, and my therapist advised that I try EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization, and it really helps with processing trauma, especially memories that are really stuck that you can't access, because a lot of the times when you are experiencing a traumatic event, you disassociate, you separate from your body,
Yes.
and your mind will go someplace else where
Hmm.
it's safe,
Hmm.
and then you will not even be able to remember the experience. But your body remembers the experience and it brings you back, and you don't even know why you get certain feelings.
EMDR, is that the correct term? Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
movement, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy.
how does it work?
So you decide to work on a single thing, for example, being bullied at school. And you start with this very broad thing, being bullied at school. And then the therapist asks you certain questions to narrow it down, like what was your worst memory about this, or what is your worst, and then what is your worst fear associated with this, and things like that. And then they start moving something, or because it can be done in person, it can be done via Zoom. If you do it via Zoom, it's more about tapping. You tap on your knees or on your shoulders.
Okay.
If you are in person, they are moving their fingers and you have to follow their fingers in a way. And
Okay.
you're not talking about anything during this time. Like you have a minute where you're just thinking back to this experience,
Yeah.
and you are going with the movement of your eyes,
So you're
basically.
just following
Yeah.
them, and playing through a thought
What
that
was
you
happening?
okay.
Yeah. And this, in a way, it seems like nothing, but it brings back literally everything that you experienced. Sometimes I got stuck and I would not be able to access something that was hidden away because my brain couldn't process it at the time. So I removed myself from the situation.
Yeah.
But during EMDR, I managed to access these points where I was completely, I blocked them completely before. They were so traumatic that I had to block them in order to survive. And accessing these things, in the meantime, you build in a way this relationship first, these safe places that you have to go to if these thoughts consume you or
Yes.
whatever. So you have in a way safety box with things that you access when it
Mhm.
becomes too much. But I have a friend of mine that's currently going through it actually, and it reminded me because I was going through EMDR 5 years ago, but she reminded me of something that was really strong for me as well that when you go out of the room and you're right, you're back in the body of this child that was traumatized. And sometimes you feel like, oh my God, I'm going crazy. Like I'm not an adult anymore. I'm a 5-year old that's pretending to be an adult.
Yes.
And it's so traumatic in a way that you are brought back to a state in a way where you feel vulnerable. You feel
Yes.
like everything's coming back to you. But this is temporary. And it's, I feel, a time when a lot of people would give up because they would be stressed out by this experience because it's a very unusual experience. And most
Yeah.
people think that when you start going to therapy, it will help immediately.
Yes.
Whereas the reality is that it takes a lot more time than
Yes.
1, 2, 6, 12 sessions. This is nothing when you have trauma or some childhood experiences that were harsh.
That's right.
So yeah, it's basically going with the flow and uh, trusting the process.
Yes.
And eventually, every time when this kid kind of resurfaced, I learned this is what the therapist helped me in a way. I learned to remember this is not my current situation. This
Mhm.
is in the past. And
Wow.
with time, even I could recognize the triggers, like even smell of a soap would bring me back to the bathroom at school
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yes. 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 Smell is so important, hey?
Yeah, smell, touch, things like that. Like we remember like on some primal level, we remember a lot of things.
Yes.
And it's so important to learn to recognize these things and to learn to say to yourself, listen, this is from the past. This has nothing to do with what's going on right now.
That's right.
And this
So
has been the most, I would say, the thing that has helped me the most with my mental health. Be able to reframe those thoughts and feelings that came.
absolutely. Perspective helps so much in being able to take fragments of a memory or just symptoms and know of pain and a generic feeling and be able to actually put some context around it and let it all come back together. That's powerful. It organizes your thoughts, and it's the unorganized thoughts that cause such chaos and stress and anxiety for us. So I think that, yeah, that's really powerful. So EMDR has been hugely helpful for you. What other therapies or treatments have also been really beneficial for you?
One very controversial one that I haven't even shared with my own audience is that I have gone to hypnotherapy.
Hypnotherapy. Yes. Okay. I love this. I'm so excited to hear about your experience. Okay.
I was very afraid of this, but at the same time, I have always believed in past lives. I
Hmm.
believe I'm very spiritual in this way that I don't believe that the soul dies. I think that the body is just a vessel.
Amen. Yeah, I believe that.
And I felt that I had like for example, I had certain fears that had nothing to do with my why. Like for example, I was literally born with a fear of dogs, and I was terrified of dogs. I've never had any negative experience with dogs. Even if it's a small puppy, I would still be terrified. My heart would be racing. I would go into this panicky mode. I would start crying. Like it would be a whole nightmare. And um at one point after doing so much therapy, I was like, this is not from this lifetime, like this is something
Wow.
more.
Really?
And this is when I went to a hypnotherapist and I learned it's from a past life. It was extremely transformative. And this is, I guess, if you want fast results, I
Yeah.
guess hypnotherapy is the one to go for, but it's not the first. It's not the first therapy to do, in my opinion.
Okay. Okay. So
Because
it's effective.
literally, yes,
Okay.
if it's done right, if it's done by someone that knows what they're doing, obviously.
Yes. Yes, but it's not the first place that you should start, and why do you say that?
Because I think you have to have some sort of experience with therapy before that in order to go so deep on such a deep level to
Okay.
know what to do. Because otherwise, I think it might be extremely overwhelming and it might trigger some negative mental health states that are not welcome if you're struggling already.
Yes. Okay, so that's a huge one because I don't think I've ever heard anyone bring that up, and I think that it is a very
Very
wise.
stigmatized.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I mean, hypnotherapy when I was younger was I don't know, it was more of like the magic shows, right? That they would
Yeah.
bring the magician and he would be a there would be a hypnotism aspect of it, right? And then you'd see people like chickens and quacking like ducks, right? But I never really believed that. I never really believed that that's what was really going on. I don't know. There was always this disbelief in me, and I still to
Yeah.
this day have not done hypnotherapy, but I want to because I've heard such good things about it that you're not speaking directly with the conscious person who is only about 20% available ever at a given time. You wanna talk to the subconscious that's running the show and the default program. So, it makes perfect sense, and you saying that it's a great form of therapy. Tell me some things if you can share with us just high level, what were some things that you noticed right off of the bat out of your first session? And what are you noticing sessions later?
Only done it 3 times,
3
once a
times.
year, because it's not something that I felt the need to do like normal therapy, like every week or something like that. Like it's such a deep work that you need a lot of time to process what you've seen in this one time, what you've experienced in this one time. But from the first time, from the very first time, it was a 3-hour session that we did.
3
It's
hours, wow.
longer. Yeah, it's longer than normal therapy, but it's because when you go into this state, like the therapist that I was working with, she's very knowledgeable and she has written books and things like that. And she likes to kind of guide you to reach every level of this experience of, for example, my fear of dogs. Where does
Yes.
it come from? And in a way to heal this part of my soul
Mhm.
that's being so traumatized by an experience that it developed this fear that I remember wife after wife, wife after wife. So after these first 3 hours, I no longer had fear of dogs. I never thought that this was possible, honestly,
Oh my
but
gosh.
it was instant. It was absolutely instant.
Holy cow. Okay. So there is something to this. Would you be able to share some thoughts around how to make sure that you are working with a real hypnotherapist who is trained and certified to do what they do?
It depends on the country that you use, but I think that you have to look for people that were trained first as psychologists or psychiatrists, and then they trained in hypnotherapy, well known in a way. Because I believe that there are not many people that are that well known in this field. I think there are like one or two in every country, maybe.
Yeah.
So just look for those and don't go for these, I don't know, people that will message you on social media and offer their
Yeah.
services or
No,
like
no, no. Mm-mm.
these things. Or no, no, no. Yeah.
Not those ones. So, okay, so that's great. So EMDR, hypnotherapy, what else? Was there anything else that was really helpful? Medication. Okay, so medication and why was that a choice that you decided to make for yourself?
I was very hesitant to try on any antidepressants for the longest time. I lived literally in constant state of anxiety and panic for 5 years and tried everything like diets, vitamins, herbs, supplements, everything that you can think of. I tried it because I believe that I can heal myself naturally in a way, which I think for some people it's completely absolutely possible. I think everyone should try it. But at one point, I just reached this level where I realized this is not going to work like that. And I was brave enough to try uh, antidepressants. The
Yes.
first one didn't work, as it is with most people.
Mhm.
With medication, you have to be prepared, I guess, to go through a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, it's a journey. Yeah, to
Yeah,
finding the right one to
absolutely.
suit you. Yeah.
Absolutely. But then when I started the medication that was right for me, and when it started kicking in, it was like all the therapy I had done before, I could finally implement a lot of those things.
Wow.
Because before that, I would try so hard, I would give it my best, but it wouldn't be enough, and I wouldn't be able to.
We're trying to, like, outrun what was, what your anxiety was, and then try to get out ahead of it, but you never could catch up to it, and now medication allows you these moments where you can stop and just breathe and then implement that tool to support you better in that moment.
Yeah,
So that's
absolutely.
very cool.
Yeah, because therapy for me, all sorts of therapy are just tools that you learn,
Mhm.
and that in a way, resources, you build this box of resources that you go back to, because life is just full of stress and bad
Yeah.
experiences and whatever, like we cannot avoid them, but when you have this toolbox of resources, you can always come back to it when the
Yes,
next thing comes. But
exactly.
sometimes, if your body is in this constant, if your nervous system is in a constant fight or flight, you can't implement these things, no matter how much you try.
I remember taking, dialectic behavioral therapy, and they talked about emotion mind and wise mind, and how those two have to come together for you to make a rational, grounded, informed decision. And emotion mind, if you are highly triggered, upset, can't emotionally regulate yourself, well, then you're going to make a reactive decision versus one that you've put some thought and time and consideration into. And so it can put you into a very dangerous situation if you are constantly just trying to react instead of put some thoughts behind what your actions are.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that sometimes, again, there is a lot of stigma around medication.
There
And
is.
it's like, because it's in your head, you should be able to fix it on your own. You don't
Don't you
need
hate that?
any help. I absolutely hate it. I absolutely hate it, because when you're physically sick, you wouldn't expect someone to just, I don't know, stop having fever on their own or whatever. You would give them something. But when it comes to our minds, we tend to be much harsher with ourselves.
Yeah, and I don't know, when I look at how important the mind is compared to the body, the mind runs everything. And if you get injured or you're physically sick, people can see it and yeah, you look limited by it, but the severity of how it can hold you back isn't as severe as mental health. And if you are experiencing a complete shutdown emotionally and mentally, that's life and death. There is a
Uh,
big difference. That is severity that deserves the respect of people when they talk about well-being, because our minds, without if they're not on side with us, we're going to self-destruct.
Absolutely. Because when we live in this fight, flight, or freeze response, when you've lived in this state for years, then it becomes also physical illnesses, which I have also developed because of this, because of living in this state for such a long time. The body at one point is like, oh my god, we are dying every day, we're dying constantly. So something has to give, something
That's
has to
right.
stop working in order to keep. I remember I visited a nutritionist very early in my journey, and she was explaining to me how when we live in fight or flight, our bodies are just naturally equipped to protect the brain and the heart, and everything else is secondary. Like everything else, like they try not to expend too much energy on
Mhm.
anything else, because the two most important organs, like they use all of the energy they have. The body uses all of the energy that it has on the brain and the heart, and everything else is left to survive on its own.
Mhm.
And that's why a lot of people as well, like for example, the digestive system is one of the first ones to go. Like it stops working when you are in a constant fight
That
or
makes
flight.
that makes sense when it comes to stress.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why these are the first symptoms most people experience.
I'm like, it's been days. What's going on?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but you're right. You're right. So moving on a little bit from all of that, you've been able to go through an incredible journey of living through a lot of trauma and negativity and feeling isolated and on your own and fixing and integrating all parts of yourself. And then you started an online community. And I would love for you to explain somebody's diaries so that people can come in and see and be part of your community.
The name Somebody's Diaries, it comes from the fact that I didn't want to call it, for example, World's Diaries, because I think it can be anybody that goes through something like that. And it felt right to be, in a way, all of our kind of stories combined into one thing.
Yes.
But the main reason why I created it, the first one is that I've worked in marketing. This has always been my passion ever since I can remember. It's been a special interest of mine. But most importantly, it was that when I was at my lowest point, it was other communities, other people on the internet that gave me hope that this is not going to be like that forever. And I felt completely alone and isolated. I didn't know anyone in real life that was going through something similar to what I was going through. And kind of I found my tribe online.
Wow.
I found the people that I couldn't find in real life
Yes.
online. Then I decided that if I had something to give, if I had some experience that I had to share one day with the world, I will give back in a way by creating my own community and sharing everything I've learned as much as I can,
Yes.
to help others.
Wow.
To know that they're not alone and there is always a light at the end of the tunnel, no matter what's happening.
That's so good. That got me in the feels. Laura, stop it. What a beautiful
Thank you.
community. Like seriously, what a beautiful community that you've created. And so what can they expect to see when they go to somebody's diaries?
A lot of different things. So I share a lot about mental health. I share a lot as well about chronic illnesses and about life with these two things. They share a lot of similarities because they're both kind of invisible things that people
Okay.
don't always notice from the get go.
Yeah.
And they're isolating experiences that a lot of, even like, you go to a professional, you go to a doctor, you go to a therapist, and you expect that they'll be able to fix you instantly, to give you the right pill or to give you the right therapy. But it takes so much trial and error. It takes so many times of trying things, one after the second, after the third, having patience. And it's just not, I feel like you need the support during this time.
Yes.
You need the support in order to keep going. And that's what I'm trying to provide. My DMs are always open. They're beautiful people in my community that just, yeah, I haven't seen much negativity there, which is very happy for me to
Yes.
see, considering the world we're living in and how
Yes.
much negativity there can be on the internet.
Yes. Yeah, I think that what your site brings to the table, somebody's diaries.com brings is the ability for people to feel truly seen and heard and loved and connected. And you don't see that in most places. So I do have huge respect for you, Laura, because I think that sharing your story is brave, being bold enough to invite other people into it, to see what you've gone through, but then also to say, hey, it's not just about me. I also want to serve and support you. Sometimes that can be the smallest thing that can be the biggest impact in someone's life. Oh, thank you so much for being here and talking about all of this with us. And this is not the last time you're going to be on my show. I really, really enjoy you.
I
So
really did enjoy it too.
thank you
And
so
thank you
much.
so much.
Absolutely. And in order to find out more about Laura, please feel free to check out her website, somebodiesdiaries.com. I have links to all of her social media and website in the description below. Thank you so much and see you soon.